Hey guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to paint Crimson Fists. The process is surprisingly quick, easy, and has a smooth, sharp result at the end. I'm always adding new tutorials on how to paint various chapters of Space Marine, such as the Soul Drinker's Marine shown here. So if there's anything you'd like to see, please comment below and let me know what tutorial you'd like me to make, as well as check out my channel for all these other painting tutorials, as well as this one right here, which was actually just for fun. It's no established tutorial, I just thought the colors would look really nice and they came out really well. So without further ado, let's begin. The first paint you're going to need is Cantor Blue. However, I have a slightly older version of this called Regal Blue, which I'm going to work with today. But if you are just getting into it, the paint you need is Cantor Blue. As you can see here, it is very similar. It is just from the older range. Using this as a base, all you're going to do is apply a thin layer on all the armor panels that are going to be blue. Make sure that you mix it with maybe a little bit of water or even some medium, which is basically just a paint thinner. You just really want it to go on nice and smooth as a base layer, and you do not want it to be lumpy or leave streaks or anything like this. The finished result should look something like this. Next you'll need a black wash such as Nuln Oil, and basically all you're going to do with this is go over all the armor paneling, trying very carefully to get the wash to pool in all the crevices. As you can see on the shoulder pad here, I just dab it all around the recesses and crevices and then paint it over the rest. Proceed to do this across all the armor paneling and anywhere that is blue. Next you're going to need a dark silver such as Lead Belcher from Games Workshop, and you're just going to go over all the metal parts such as on the bolter and the small skull symbols and emblems all over the armor. Apply as a relatively thin coat. Again, it's going to be like the armor where you just want to lay down a base. Also do the same process on the Aquila on the chest. Next you'll need Nuln Oil, and all you need to do with this is go over all the parts you have just painted metal, once again taking care to try to get the wash to pool in all the recesses like you did with the armor. Anything that you've just painted silver, you need to now wash over. While you are waiting for this to dry, it is time to start layering the armor. Once again, grab your Cantor Blue, or in this case Regal Blue, and we'll begin layering the armor. Mix this color with just a little bit of water or maybe some medium, and slowly start to work your way around the armor, taking care to leave the darker edging that was left by the wash. The main purpose for adding the water or the medium is really just to allow you some extra working time, to allow the paint to go on thinner and dry smoother, and also to allow smoother blending, as you will see later on. The finished result should look something like this. Next up you will need Corn Red. It's just basically a dark red, and we're going to use it on the left hand. As is tradition with the Crimson Fists, all of their left fists are painted red, except in the case of veterans where it is both fists. All you need to do with this is just go over the left fist and cover generously, taking care to make sure it applies as a thin even coat, much like before. Next up you will need a red wash such as Caribou Crimson, just to go over the fist much like you did with the armor with the black wash, taking care to try to get it to pool in all the recesses in between the fingers and armor plating. Once this has dried, grab some Mephiston Red or any other brighter red that you'd like, and it is just time to add the layering in between the armor plating much like you did with the blue, taking care to leave the darker outline around all the panels, in between the fingers, and in all the recesses. Next you'll need some Abaddon or Abaddon Black, just basically a black paint, and what we're going to do with this is to just basically clean up the bolter housing where we may have messed the blue or the red, and then also to go around the seals in between the armor. Once again, this is really just a cleanup stage, just to make sure that things are supposed to be black are black and that there's no overspill of the other colors. Next, grab the darker silver that you used before on the bolter and the Aquila, and we are just going to go through and much like with the armor and leave a darker outline around the edges that was created by the wash. Make sure you do this on the Aquila on the chest as well. Next up, we are going to need Rakarth flesh, and we are just going to start to do the purity seals, and this also works with anything that is cloth based. All you need to do is just add a thin and even layer, just to use as a foundation on the purity seals. As I mentioned before, this does work as well with anything that is supposed to be cloth. Once this has dried, grab some Agrax Earthshade, which is basically just a brown wash, and once again, like you did with the armor, try to get it to pool in all the recesses. Next up, grab some Mephiston Red, and we are just going to do the top of the purity seal. It is only a small area and only needs a little bit of paint just to make sure that it is smooth and will make a good foundation for the rest to come. Once the wash has dried, returning to the bottom of the purity seal, grab some Ushabti Bone and just apply a thin layer, taking care to leave the darker outline of the recesses as well as areas where it might have pulled up on the cloth itself. Next up, moving back to the red wash Caribou Crimson, all you need is just a dab on the top part of the purity seal, just to make the inside darker. As you can see guys, the video is getting darker, but bear with me, it does change in a second. The sun was just setting, however I continued filming the next day. Next up, grab some Yriel or Yriel, however you want to pronounce it, yellow, and just put a thin base layer on the eye lenses. I usually do this step while I'm waiting for other washes to dry before I can proceed. All you need is a thin layer, taking care to leave the darker outer rim of each lens. Once you have done this, grab some Seraphim Sepia, which is basically just yellow wash, and just add a dab into each eye lens. Once this wash has dried, grab some Yriel or Yriel Yellow, and once again using just a very thin layer, go over each lens, taking care to leave the darker outline as is. Here you can see where we are up to so far. Now this is a perfectly good tabletop standard, and as you can see, it's clean and it's crisp. However, for those of you wanting to go a step further, please stay tuned as I'm going to try to add some shadowing to the armor panels as well as some edge highlights, as well as various other highlights to the metal around the bolter and the chest Aquila. However, as you can see though, if this is all you need, it is perfectly fine. It is more than good enough for a tabletop standard and is clean and crisp. Once again, grabbing your Cantor Blue, or in this case Regal Blue, you are going to mix it with just a little bit of flow medium such as this one, which is my preferred one. However, water does work as well, but the main benefit of the medium is it allows longer working time with the paints and also allows for easier blending, just from my experience. Although one thing that is very important to note, which is why I chose to show you this part here, is that if you use a medium that is white in color and not translucent, it will bring up the pigment of whatever color you're working with just a shade or two. Now normally it's not such a big deal, but as you can see here in this case, because the drop of the medium added was quite substantially larger than the paint that we were working with to begin with, it has brought it up quite a few shades. For our purpose today, this is perfectly fine as we are looking to bring it up a shade or two and does save us the hassle of mixing in some white. As you can see there, it is just a few shades lighter, not a serious contrast but enough to make a difference. Using this step, you can either bring up the color of the base armor entirely up a whole new shade if you would like it lighter, or you can do as I'm going to show you today in this tutorial, just basically just a way of showing source lighting on all the rounded and raised edges, such as the top of the helmet, the top of the shoulder pad, and of course the top of the backpack. I've just put small ovals and small circles around all these edges. pretty much just to try to give the illusion of light bouncing off the armor. As you can see here, it has made a very subtle but noticeable difference and didn't take long at all. Next up, we are going to need some Evil Sun Scarlet or any other bright red, brighter than the red you previously used on the gauntlet, as it is going to be used as an edge highlight for the gauntlet now. Make your way around, slowly applying edge highlighting to all the surfaces. As you can see here, it has made a noticeable difference already. While you have this paint out, why not add an edge highlighting to the top of the purity seal. Next, you're going to need a lighter silver such as Mithril Silver, which once again is from the old range. I'm not too sure what the newer version is. However, just a lighter silver, and just go around all the edges on anything that you have painted metal, which includes the Aquila on the chest as well as the bolt gun. Now we're going to do the edge highlighting on the armor, grabbing Regal or Cantor blue once again, as well as some white Scar. We're going to mix up a slightly lighter blue to use for the edge highlighting. Now, some people out there prefer to use a different blue altogether, such as this one here, Ultramarines blue. However, I find it to be too much of a stark contrast, too much of a jump. You could mix these two together, which is perfectly fine. However, for the purpose of today's tutorial, I'm just going to mix in some white and try to bring it up a few layers. Adding a little bit of white to the blue, you can start to mix the two colors in together until you have the perfect shade which suits your preference. As you can see here, I've added too much white, but this is not a problem. All you need to do is just, yeah, you can see there it's quite a jump. All you need to do is just add more blue and just continue adding either more blue or more white until it gets much closer to the original shade, as you can see there. All you need to do then is just grab a fine detail brush and slowly trace all the edges of the armor. You don't have to go around every single edge of every single armor plate. I find that if you just do, I'd say maybe 2/3 of all the edging, it really does get the point across and it really does look good. Next up, grab a lighter yellow such as this Edge Yellow from Games Workshop, and just put a small amount on the eye lenses just to try to add another layer of brightness. Now, that edge paint does not always work the best, as I find it to be a little bit watery, so you can use anything else as well as adding white to other yellows. However, moving right along, you just grab some white, and just to try to give the illusion of, say, light reflecting from glass lenses, all you need to do is just put small dabs of white on each lens, nothing more. And here we have the finished product. As you can see, it was not a very overall time consuming process, but has made a very striking result. Thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this video tutorial has helped you. If it has, please comment below letting me know how it has helped you, and as always, if there's anything you'd like to see from chapter symbols to other Marines, please comment below and let me know. Thanks for watching, guys, and stay tuned.